Let's talk about the female reproductive system, starting with the ovary. It produces eggs, estrogen, and progesterone. The fallopian tube or oviduct is where fertilization occurs. The uterus is where implantation of that fertilized egg takes place in the inner layer called the endometrium. The base of the uterus is called the cervix. It's called in Latin, neck, and so it's the neck of the uterus, and is filled with thick mucus most days of the month to keep out pathogens. The vagina is also known as the birth canal. It's slightly acidic, designed to keep out pathogens. The ureter is the tube that carries urine from the kidneys to the bladder. The fimbriae are the beginning of the fallopian tube. They catch the egg. The bladder holds urine. Urethra carries urine out of the body. The clitoris is for sexual stimulation. The labium minora are the smaller skin folds surrounding the urinary and genital opening, and the labium majora are the larger skin folds. Both the skin folds are designed to keep out pathogens. Let's look at the front view. So we have the ovaries, the fallopian tube, the lining, the endometrium, the uterus, the cervix, and the vagina. Females have 2 ovaries, which alternate each month to produce an egg or ovum, which is called oogenesis. The follicles contain or produce an ovum or egg and secrete estrogen. Later in the cycle, the corpus luteum secretes estrogen and progesterone. The ovaries contain about 400,000 egg cells, but only about 400 actually mature between the ages of 12 to 50. The egg is larger than sperm because the cytoplasm in the egg has to provide enough nutrients for 5 days if the egg is fertilized. That's how long it takes the fertilized egg to travel down the fallopian tube and embed into the endometrium. The ovum lives for 24 hours after ovulation, so if it's not fertilized during that time, it dies. Ovulation is when a follicle matures, it ruptures, releasing the ovum. The fimbriae, the start of the fallopian tube, pick up the ovum from the ovary and carry it into the fallopian tube or oviducts, which are the passage from the ovary to the uterus, also the site of fertilization. The uterus is the site of embryo development. It has 2 layers. The endometrium is the inner layer. It nourishes the embryo. It's the layer shed during menstruation, and it is blood vessel rich. The myometrium is the muscular layer. Cervix is the muscular opening to the uterus. Cells here are constantly shed and replaced. A pap smear checks for changes in the cells of the cervix. Changes may indicate infection, unhealthy cervical cells, or cervical cancer, which can be caused by HPV or genital warts, which there is a vaccination against. So this vaccine can prevent cervical cancer. So doctor places a speculum into the vagina, opens it, and then places a brush down the vagina and scrapes cells from the cervix. The brush is then sent to a lab where they would check the cells on the brush. So normal cells, we have inflammatory cells, precancerous, and then cancer cells. Now, a pap smear only checks for cancer of the cervix and not cancer of any other parts of the reproductive system. The vagina is the entrance for the penis as well as the birth canal. Pathway for sperm. They enter the vagina, then travel through the cervix, through the uterus, and to the fallopian tube where fertilization would occur. So it spells VCUF. Vagina, cervix, uterus, fallopian tube. Fertilization usually occurs in the fallopian tubes, and implantation occurs in the uterus.